As we have learned, the years immediately after the abolition of slavery were known as Reconstruction. During this time, newly freed African Americans began to pursue their own goals, including education and political power. The defeated states of the former Confederacy tried to recreate slavery using laws called black codes, but the federal government, especially Republicans in Congress, helped to provide some protection and support. The importance of the federal government can be seen in the way racial violence was prosecuted in Southern states. Since many powerful members of Southern society, including police and judges, were against equal rights for Black people, they rarely prosecuted crimes such as lynching when the victims were Black. Eventually, Congress had to pass the Enforcement Acts, which allowed federal marshals to arrest perpetrators of racial violence. The federal government was sending a message to Southern states: if you will not enforce the law, then we will. But as time went on, some Americans began to question the federal involvement in the South. They argued that Southern states ought to enforce their own laws, that soldiers had more important things to do, that the federal government was spending too much money on the Freedmen's Bureau, and that the programs weren't effective in reducing widespread poverty anyway. By the middle of the 1870s, many white Americans had begun to lose faith in Reconstruction. This change in attitude affected Congress as well. Two of the most enthusiastic supporters of Reconstruction, Senators Thaddeus Stevens and Charles Sumner, both passed away in the decade after the war, and the new generation of Republican senators did not share their desire to punish the rebel states. In 1872, Congress passed the General Amnesty Act, which effectively pardoned all former Confederate officials, allowing them to once again lead state governments. These officials turned to voter suppression and intimidation tactics meant to disenfranchise Black voters. When elected Republicans asked the federal government to do something, President Grant responded that the country was tired out of the problems in the South. No troops or marshals were deployed, and with the Black vote suppressed, the Democratic Party quickly took control of Southern state governments. Without Black voters, the Republican Party lost an important base of support. An economic recession during Grant's presidency cost the Republicans even more votes, and in the 1876 election, the Republican Party narrowly lost the presidency to Democrat Samuel Tilden. But the race was so close that a compromise was reached. The Democrats agreed to accept Republican Rutherford B. Hayes as president on the condition that he end Reconstruction. For the Southern states, ending federal involvement was key to reestablishing the legal oppression of Black people. With Reconstruction over and federal troops withdrawn, Southern Democrats got busy limiting the voice of Black voters and rebuilding the systems of oppression which the Civil War had been fought to destroy. A new age of discrimination was beginning. It was called Jim Crow.